Hey everyone, welcome to Gootz's Disney Pod. I'm your host, Ray Gootz, and we are in the year 2015, and I'm here with one of my favorite people to be on podcasts with, Krystyna Hutchinson. Krystyna, how are you today?
Hello, I'm good. I just got back from rollerblading.
Oh, okay. It's pretty cold. How bad was it bad out there with the wind and everything?
Yeah, I didn't go my normal route in its entirety. I just went to I live by a helicopter pad, so I took a hot cup of coffee and I just kind of rollerbladed and sat and watched the helicopters land with a cup of coffee because
Oh,
I
okay.
can't stay inside all goddamn day and week and month.
Yeah, I've been going for walks, 6-mile walks every day.
Ooh, 6 miles. How long does that
Yeah.
take you?
2 or 3 hours. And I
Nice.
try to go every day unless it's like really cloudy and cold. And
Yeah,
I have a
it's
park.
nice.
You ever been to Astoria Park? Have you done a show there yet during this whole thing?
No, I don't like park shows. Gotta be
Oh,
honest.
okay. I haven't done a park show either. I agree with you, but I go to that park's by me. But it's just far enough that it's a good exercise, and I go there with my
Yeah.
dogs. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Dogs in nature. Can't beat that.
No, it's pretty awesome. That's what I was doing the whole pandemic, and I didn't do it that much this week, but I hope to get back to it. Krystyna, let's get to know you a little bit before we get into the movie. How long have you been doing stand-up?
For 10 years.
Oh, okay,
10
cool.
glorious fucking experimental years.
Jesus. And what made you get into it?
I wanted to be on SNL when I was in high school, and then I moved to New York so I could intern for SNL. And I finally, last semester of college, got an internship at SNL. And during the last episode, the season finale, I asked one of the writers what I had to do to get on the show, and he said, "You have to do stand up." And I was like, "Oh, that sucks. I don't want to do that," but okay. And that's what got me into it.
What season was that, if you don't mind me asking?
That was John Lutz was the writer who told me that. And I remember that season was the year that was 2010. And I remember the second to last episode of that season the episode was hosted by Betty White, and Jay-Z was the musical guest. And I passed Beyonce in the very skinny performer hallway. And I almost passed out. She's Beyonce's I like music and pop stars and stuff, but I don't really have I don't obsess over anybody except her.
Yeah, oh yeah, she's pretty cool. Jay-Z, Betty, I would almost pass out over Betty White, not so much Jay-Z.
Yeah.
But
She was incredible.
yeah.
You watched her get manhandled and tossed around by the wardrobe people because they have to change you because you have to be really quick. And so she was just like laughing the whole time.
Oh,
You
that's
watch her just
hilarious.
getting thrown from person to person. Someone puts a sweater on her, and you're like, "Oh, you're such a good sport."
That's so funny. And do you still want to be on Saturday Night Live, or if you're like, I'm good at this point?
Nah, nah. Better stuff, more exciting stuff happened. So I was like, "Oh shit, I'll take this." With
Yeah,
Corinne and Guys We Fucked and the opportunities that's afforded us, this was way better.
yeah, way better and less. I mean, it's you're not. They're not going to go after you as much doing podcast guys we fucked as Saturday Night Live. You know what I mean? Like you like feel like everyone in Saturday Night Live
Yeah.
is always under a microphone, microscope.
Microscope. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're also under a microphone. Um, yeah. For those of you that don't know, and I'm sure a lot of you know, her and Corinne Fisher host Guys We Fucked, and it's actually my favorite podcast I've ever done. I did like one of your.
Yay.
Was I the first guy that you did not fuck that you had on the show?
No, there were
Okay.
so many guys we did not fuck because we've been doing the
Okay.
podcast for 7 years. But by the time you did it, I think we were a year or two in. We had
Yeah,
a
I think
lot
so.
of people.
Yeah.
We knew that honestly, our number's not that high. I know it's like who gives a shit, but you'd think I'd have way more sex than I actually had. So we have a lot of people on that we haven't had sex with, and I'm single. I was in a 7-year relationship, and I've been single for 2 years. I haven't boned anyone in a year, so I'm like some sex podcast co-host. I am.
You're
You
gonna
are a
be
great guest.
gonna be oh yeah, your podcast is one of the podcasts where I've got a ton of fans off of it. I've gotten people that
Yay!
come to see me in shows in California. I did Keith and the Girl. I told the exact same story I told you guys, and all I got was hate mail and
Hate
troll.
mail.
Yeah, like that hate mail, hate tweets. I don't
Hate
know.
tweets. Oh my
Yeah,
god, people are so funny.
I know. It's just so funny the different audiences. Like your audience is so accepting, and they're
They're
so
good
like
people.
open.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I got is you can't pick your fans. You really can't pick your fans.
no,
So we're very lucky to have incredibly kind, compassionate, funny fans with a sense of humor and who have been through shit. Honestly, people who've been through shit, that's who I fucks with.
yeah, yeah. Everyone that came to me, and a lot of people opened up because my whole story. I've told this on your podcast, and I've said vaguely mentioned on Disney podcast. But by the way, this is an R-rated Disney podcast, so if you want to just talk about common shit, it's fine. Um,
Eh,
nah,
not really.
not on Disney podcast. Okay,
Nah, I don't really care about it right now.
yeah, I hear you. I'm this. Yeah, I'm almost the same way. This is like the first year where I've not been into anyone. Like I've just not been into anyone. I'm just like everyone kind of
Same, yeah.
sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I usually have like one little crush on one girl in my life, and now I'm just like I
Oh,
just hate everyone.
yeah. Yeah. I don't hate everyone, but I wish I had a crush, man. The crushes are the best because they kind of like they're a nice little fire under your ass. Even if nothing comes of it, it's just nice to have it.
Yeah, it really is. Like it's just nice to have. Oh, even though work's gonna suck, I'm looking forward to seeing this one person.
Yeah,
And maybe
exactly.
like maybe something will spark, or maybe she'll just. But at least it's nice to have someone to look forward to. And I don't really have that, but I have my animals, and that's better than a crush. So
Yeah. Oh, it's just me and my dog this whole
yeah,
quarantine. It's been very lovely. I got to be honest.
yeah. Like crushes can kind of like one day just be over you, but a dog is just always like you're the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's the first experience of unconditional love
Yeah, me
I've ever
too.
had.
Actually, me too. It at first it was like overwhelming, and I was very like not. I was like, "What's wrong with you?" Almost to the dog, like
Yeah.
this fake? Are you like playing a game? And then you realize, no, the dog actually just really loves
Like,
you.
wow, you really like me and you can stand me and you're not annoyed by me. I'm
Yeah.
very impressed.
Don't you want to like run off? I kept waiting for the dog to be like, actually, I'm fucking with you. I'm gonna run off with this guy at the park. You're kind of a
No, I know. Me and Kevin's my dog soulmate, so
okay.
we good.
Yeah, they love dogs. Christine, tell me about your childhood. How was that? What was that like?
Great. It
Uh,
wasn't great. Yeah. Distant parents, one with a mental illness that was very severe, and I was by myself a lot. I kind of raised myself, and I grew up thinking that my parents were perfect and could do no wrong and would never want to do anything to make me sad or hurt me. And then I realized after all my friends and everybody I've ever dated is like, your parents are dicks to you. I'm like, what? Really? Then you get angry about that for a few years and then you accept it and then you don't talk to them for a while. And I'm in the phase where I I'm not speaking to them for months, I've been not speaking to them. I blocked their phone number. And
Oh
that was
wow.
a big step for me because I'm so not boundaries. I don't stand up for myself like previously, historically. So this is a really big, big, big move for me. And I conjured up a lot of heart and a lot of energy to write them an email 2 nights ago for the as
Okay.
first point of contact in a couple months. And I was so proud of the email I wrote because it was patient, it was kind, it was like this is who I am and this is what I need you to know about me and this is how I need you to treat me because they're very mean to me. And
Yeah.
there it wasn't good. So that's where I'm at. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm my own best friend and I'm all I have. And Kevin's all I have. So, but that's good. I like that.
Have you noticed, and I've noticed this, have you noticed that COVID has kind of like, and this whole pandemic, this whole year that we've had of hell, has kind of made you like zero tolerance for people's bullshit? Whereas people that you would kind of like,
Absolutely.
people you would kind of kiss the ass of or keep around, you're just like, no, I'm not even going to give
Or
you
just
any type of power.
entertain even.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, even
yeah, I
entertain
have
them. Yeah,
no interest. I
yeah.
have no interest in looking at your face. I have
Mm-hmm.
no interest in hearing your voice. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to call you. You make me miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I want you in my life? Seeing the head of the country on display for everyone to see being just, textbook arrogant, narcissistic, all that shit. I'm one of those, daughters who's lost their parents to Fox News.
Oh
You
wow.
got to choose one, and it's either me or Fox News. And to the point, and I look, I'd rather not bring up politics, but it's like, it's to a point where I can't not bring it up because it's a lot of the shit is not political. It's human.
Yeah.
Like the amount of fights I've had with my parents or arguments, I should say, about Black Lives Matter is, and I'll say it until the day I die. I'm like, I'll never back down from that. That's not a political thing. You fell for a fucking trick.
Mm-hmm.
You got tricked, bitch, and you are convinced that this is a political movement. It's not. Just respect. Don't
Yeah.
kill black people. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? It's not political. So it's been quite a summer for me, Ray.
It's
Or
I'm
quite a
at
year
the
rather.
point where I don't want to. There were a few comedians at the Capitol building, and I don't even want to do shows with them. Like I
What?
just, yeah,
Comics?
yeah. There were three
Were
comics.
they like being correspondenty or were
They were,
they, I mean,
they
they're not
were.
journalists.
That's what they were. Their excuse. I was there to cover it, but
Ew.
like they were there, and it's like I don't
That's
even want to do
disgusting.
shows. I don't want to do shows
Ew.
with you guys.
Tell me when we're done recording. Tell me their names.
Do you want me to tell you now or tell you off the air?
Yes, I do.
Oh, it was Kevin Downey Jr.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, he's a Long Island
I
guy. My
probably, you know
wife,
what? I'm probably friends with him. Okay. And who else?
Jessica Brodkin, not Jessica Brodkin. Shit, Jessica Colonzo, his girlfriend.
Oh, I don't know who that is either.
She
I don't
was
know
a
a lot of people.
feminist. She was like a very Karenni type. I hate to say Karenni type,
That's like
but
that's like the name of an indie play. She was a feminist.
yeah. Well, she was. No, she was. She was like when I first met her in Long Island. She was like kind of like a bootleg version of Corinne. I hate to say that, but like kind of like I don't know, like
A poor man's Corinne.
a poor man's Corinne, very much like in that
Yeah.
mold.
A lot of people try to be that.
And then she just became a Trumper, and I'm just like, huh? How do you?
Wow. Well, people will go to whoever accepts them, even if whoever accepts them's a stupid fucking idiot. So.
And Chrissy Mayer was there too. Who I
Yeah,
was. That's
I
the
heard
one I
that.
was
That was.
closest with.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's a bummer. That's
Yeah.
a bummer.
But I'm just like, because like I talked to some people and like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. What about the fact they burned targets down? And I'm like, that's the
They
Capitol
burn
building. Like,
targets down.
yeah, during Black Lives Matter. That's what they always say. What about the liberals who blew up?
What
I'm like,
about the black people that got murdered?
yeah, what about
Like
that?
that
Yeah.
trumps everything.
Well, the
What
target's
about
more
that?
important. I know. But I also say, like, I'm like, guys, like, Union soldiers died to make sure that that building couldn't be overtaken by rebels. And
Yeah, and
they got
here
a
you are
Confederate
helping
flag.
some dumb asshole hick down the stairs in your riot gear, you piece
Yeah.
of shit. Like,
Yeah.
oh boy, I saw it unfold live because I was watching them count the electoral votes in the at Congress, and Mitch McConnell had just given a speech that's like, guys, Trump lost. Okay, I don't like it either, but like, fuck you. And I'm like, okay, look at some sense talking,
Mhm.
getting into him, and then all of a sudden riots. So I was like, oh well, there goes that day.
It was a really rough day, and it was like one of those days where it's like, all right, this is like no longer disagreements. This is getting like weird and creepy.
Yes, and one thing I cannot stand, and I guess you could say it is a psychological trigger for me, is when we're both standing in front of a green car and you're telling me it's a pink bicycle. Like, that's what
Yes.
my parents do to me. They tell
Mhm.
me how I fucking feel. They tell me my happiness is fake. And I'm like, how about you fucking ask how I am instead of telling me how I am? Because you're wrong. And I know you're just trying to piss me off to the point where I say something terrible so you can go, wah. Nah, fuck you. I'm not doing that. I'm not giving you that.
Yeah, one of my
That's what
best
these
friends
people do.
oh, they were doing that with COVID. One of my best friends is a nurse, and she works on Lenox Hill, and I'll always ask her, "How are things?" And she'll tell me. And I'll people call me like it's not that big of a deal. There's no one in the hospitals, and I'll be like, "Well, Beth said, that they have to have 4 floors devoted to COVID patients." This is like only a week ago, and they're like, "Nah, it's not true." And it's like, "All right, dude, that's her job. She's there right now."
Yeah.
You know?
I don't care. It's not my, yeah. Like, everyone go fuck themselves.
Yeah, everyone just wants to live in their own reality. They don't want to live in actual reality, which is what's scary
Yeah.
about the world.
Yeah. I mean, there's a great way to live in your own reality at times. You just have
Mhm.
fun with yourself and go fucking rollerblading and smoke a
Yeah,
blunt.
yeah, yeah. Don't deny
You don't have
racism.
to, perpetuate racism and conspiracy theories that get people murdered. That's lame as shit.
That is pretty lame. That is pretty freaking lame. I feel like it's calming down though. I feel like a week into the maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of things have calmed down because Biden is so calm.
Hmm.
Like
I
Biden
agree.
could be the worst president we ever have, but I just feel like being a
Mm.
calm guy makes the country calm.
It's at least that is nice.
Yeah, yeah. This is the only time I realized like having who the president is actually matters to your daily life. I used to think it didn't matter, but now I realize if like
Yeah, it's very stressful but then you look at any of Michelle Obama's speeches, any
Mhm.
single one of her speeches. It is a work of art. You
Yeah.
look at that dumb fuck Melania.
Oh,
She doesn't even try, and she's one of those people everybody in that administration where it's like that's a pink bike, it's not a green car, and you're like, you dumb bitch, no.
yeah.
So
There's certain
I'm
things you
so glad that they had their power taken away, in that the social media or at least Trump, his social media accounts got banned. Is
oh, yeah,
very that was just so satisfying. When he got COVID, I'll remember exactly where I was when he got COVID. I remember where I was when he got banned on Twitter. I remember where he was when he lost.
it was
It's
great how
great.
he got his comeuppance, and I hate the fact people kept going, "It's a slippery slope, it's a slippery slope." I'm like, "No, this guy was using Twitter to incite people. Like, they're not gonna ban you
Yes.
for making fat jokes because this guy couldn't plot an insurrection, all right?"
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's like it's a whole different thing. They comedians at a show were actually arguing it's a slippery slope. They're gonna come for us next. Okay, yeah, if we're
No,
planning
you
to,
idiot.
yeah,
Twitter is a private company, you fucktard. Come on.
yeah. If you're,
I mean, I've had shit banned. I've had posts banned. I've never
mhm,
had my account suspended, but that's because I'm not trying to incite a riot. So that's
yeah,
probably why I have not had my account suspended.
yeah. I'm sure if there's a comedy show that like we should storm City Hall and murder De Blasio, that comedy show gets
Yeah,
shut down.
absolutely. If I showed my nipple thrice on Instagram, I would be shut down.
Yeah, just
So
term of
wah
service.
wah, you got taken away because you got your toy taken away because you made people get murdered.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Let me ask you: were you into cartoons as a child? What like TV shows,
Oh my
cartoons?
god, that was my only friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Rugrats, Rocco's Modern Life, Hey Arnold, um, SpongeBob SquarePants, let's see, Cat Dog, Angry Beavers, Doug Funny. Um, yeah, those are the main ones.
Do you
Rugrats was
feel
my favorite.
do you feel like Rocco has aged better because it ended at a certain
Yes.
point, whereas The Simpsons just keeps going, and now it's just like this is not as
I
good.
like The Simpsons, but I actually went on a podcast not long ago to talk about Rocco's Modern Life, and they informed me that there has been a movie made on Netflix of
And one
Rocco,
of the
and
characters
it's
came
got
out as
like,
transgender in
and
it. Yeah.
Rocco has cell phones, like a modern cell phone, and I'm like, nah,
Oh, okay.
I can't do that.
Well,
But I think it holds up. I think that show holds up, and I'm like, God, how many drugs were these motherfuckers doing? They're brilliant.
yeah, those early Nickelodeon shows hold up. They're almost on a different like the 90s cartoons were like really like for adults and
Beautiful.
kids. And now I feel like the new
Yes.
cartoons, I don't know who they're for, but I feel like they're
I
for
don't
me.
either, but I really appreciated that Nickelodeon in the 90s never talked down to kids.
Yeah, I
Ever.
like that.
They're like, you guys fucking rule. Your imaginations are beautiful and pure, and you never let anyone convince you otherwise. Fucking let's be weird.
Yeah. The more I think about the 90s, the more I realize like that was like the last golden age for animation. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
just
Seems
so
like
much
it.
difference on TV, the movies. It was just like so much stuff that like not just is held up, but is aged and become better when it first came out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh. Those were like my home, those cartoons.
Now, were you into Disney films as a little kid or not really?
Oh, my God.
Okay.
Yeah. The Puffy Box. Yeah.
Those puffy. Oh, I love those puffy boxes. Yes.
I love the Puffy Box. Yeah, I loved Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid and Aladdin. They were my favorites. Toy Story. I remember I saw Aladdin in the movie theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Oh
damn,
wow.
that was cool. Yeah.
I
And
saw
like any cartoon with Robin Williams in it, you're like, Jesus Christ.
yeah. Well, that movie is a comedians at Disney movie because you got Gilbert Gottfried and Robin Williams in it, and they're both like basically improving.
They're both stand-ups. Yeah. And
Yeah.
when Corinne and I interviewed Gilbert Godfrey for Guys We Fucked, and I remember like I think Aladdin was the very first movie I've ever seen in a movie theater my whole life. So I was born in 88. And so I was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 when it came out. And I was so excited. And I remember like ever since then, I was like, oh, movies are the shit. I've never seen a screen that big. That was the first time I'm like, this is a fucking experience. And it just so holds up. It's such a good that the cast was perfect. When we interviewed Gilbert, I was just like, oh, it's Iago. It's Iago. I can't. Oh my God. That's all you are. Like, it just, that's all you are to me, but that's so much to me.
Yeah. Whenever I talk to him back in the day when I used to see him at Caroline's, it literally you just picture the parrot and Aladdin the entire time you're talking.
Yeah. It's just such a legendary part.
Oh yeah, it was. I was so pissed when they didn't bring him back for the live action remake last year. I was so annoyed.
Yeah, that was a dumb decision. Because
They
he's
said it would be
still,
too unrealistic, and I'm like, really?
it's a cartoon. It's just fucking, oh God.
The flying carpet and the genie is realistic, but the Jewish parrot is like, oh wait, now we're way things are getting a little bit too.
Jews, none of that.
Yeah, no more Jews in these Disney films.
No more Jews. I'm Jewish.
I know, yeah, I know.
Well, I'm half.
Okay, so yeah, I saw you at a show recently, and I've been thinking about asking you to be on this podcast. And I was waiting for the right movie because I do these in chronological order. And it's funny because I was kind of thinking about you for Inside Out, and you said to me that Inside Out really helped you, kind of almost changed your life. So I'm so happy you're on here to talk about this movie because I think it's a great film, and I want to hear how this movie affected you. So if you want to get into that,
Yeah, basically, the little girl in Inside Out,
Riley.
the way she is treated by her parents, I'm like, oh, that's how parents are supposed to treat their kids. Like, that's really nice. Like, parents actually do that to their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it really helped me understand the certain sides of myself because when you went into Riley's head and each emotion was was a different character. And Amy Poehler played Joy. And just like that's very representative of everyone's inner child. But the relationships between joy and sorrow and pain and annoyance and frustration, you really kind of saw a really nice, beautifully laid out map of your emotions all working with each other simultaneously.
Yeah.
I never knew that. And I always felt bad about whenever I felt anything negative. I felt terrible about it and like ashamed about it. And no one talked to me as a kid. Like no one was like, hey, Krystyna, how are you? And I couldn't use that because it was a very tumultuous and I was a very sensitive child. So that was a lethal combo. So I cried so much of that movie because I'm like, that's really nice how their emotions are working together and Riley doesn't feel bad about it.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I think this is one of the first movies that tells kids like it's okay to be sad, and not only is it okay to be sad, it's healthy to be sad.
It's necessary, yeah. And that's how you can enjoy being happy again. But one of the most heartbreaking parts of that movie is when they're inside of Riley's head and they're in the control center, which is presumably the center of her brain, and they go to all various parts of her brain, and they have these little islands that look like islands with like merry-go-round on it and a roller coaster on it. And they represent all of these memories that are really important to this little girl of times being on the beach with your family, going on a roller coaster, watching a movie with your family on the couch, like all these things that's what life is about, that kind of sustain you.
Mhm.
And as she got older and she was being misunderstood and she couldn't voice her feelings, these islands of beautiful memories started to collapse. That got me every goddamn time. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't even talk about it without wanting to cry. Ooh, I was like, oh my God, there go all her good memories are getting tainted forever.
Yeah, no, the islands, and that it's funny because like I don't know if you could tell, but I kind of I really have a very vivid memory of my childhood. It's almost like I'm still in
Mm.
it.
So do I.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, so do I.
yeah, I'm still like I just turned 40 a few days ago, and I'm like I literally
Oh,
have the
happy
same.
belated.
Oh, thank you. I literally have the same hangups I do when I was 20. Like I don't understand. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like I still have the
Oh,
same.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't because I
Okay.
read a lot of books. Like I die. I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm figuring this shit out. I
Well,
hate this.
I say that, but I'm over a lot of things. That I think this year has taught me a lot to like not, kind of like just be your own person and stuff. But like, there's still
Yeah.
some things that bother me, and it's like I really can't believe like I've hit 40. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like 2001 was last Tuesday. You know,
Ah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I feel like 2001 was 87 years ago. So
How old were you in 2001?
I was 13 or 14.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, when I was that I think those, yeah, 13 and 14 feels like 100 years ago, but
Yeah.
2001, I was in 20, and I just feel like I'm still like, are we gonna rebuild the Twin Towers? What's going on here? I don't know.
Oh, right. I didn't know what the Twin Towers were until they got hit.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, you. I
So
used to hang out there.
I was
So
in eighth grade.
okay,
Oh,
yes,
wow. That
yeah.
sucks.
Me and
Yeah.
my
So that
family
was
would
your
go there.
first. What? Yeah. That's a real stain on someone's soul. I would
Yeah. Well,
imagine.
so it was
If
weird
you're,
because like
especially if you're not a child when it happens.
yeah, because we would go there. There was a really they never made there was a really fancy Krispy Kreme there, and there was a mall there, an underground mall that nobody ever talks about, which apparently everyone must have just died in that mall. Um, I would
I guess.
assume
Well, I
because
mean, well, after the building collapsed, yeah, but when the plane hit, you could still
yeah,
get
I
out
guess
of
you
it.
get out of the mall. Yeah, and then there was like a food market. That's the other thing. That there was like a fruit market, like the one at Union Square.
Where inside one of the
No,
towers?
outside the towers.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm wondering if those. I
Oh,
always wondered if those people were actually out there or getting ready that morning because when the
Jesus.
towers hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like a whole little thing, and they used to have like concerts and stuff. It was way different. It wasn't as like I feel like people just think it was office
Communal
buildings.
space.
Yeah, it was more like that. I'm almost positive we would have done comedy there if this never happened. And then once we
Yeah.
started doing comedy there, that's when they would have attacked us. They're like, all right, enough of this shit. But well, my whole point too. Oh, my whole point with I feel like a lot of times, like people I knew as kids, they're different people as adults. It's almost like, you were a good person when we knew each other in grade school, and now you're like just a soulless monster. And watching the islands disintegrate and inside out, it's like, oh, that's how people go from an innocent kid
To a
to
piece of shit.
a piece of shit because they let these islands blow up and they never get them back. Their emotions don't
Well, yeah,
try
and
to.
they're not given the tools. Like
Mhm.
this character Riley was given some pretty good tools by her parents to help
Yeah.
deal with feelings. And when she would get mad and like kind of had a cop an attitude with her parents, they still loved her. And I was like so shocked by that. I'm like, wait, she didn't get hit. She didn't get like I couldn't protest my parents. I couldn't yell. I couldn't say no. I just had to like do what they told me. And a lot of times it was like feel like I got bullied by them. There was
We
love, but when there's also bullying, it fuck it, doesn't matter.
were you watching this movie expecting I kept waiting for the shoe to drop where the dad's an asshole, which is why she's depressed. I
Yeah,
I
I
I
wasn't expecting it, but I was shocked that they
that he
were
was
nice to her.
okay. That there was I kept thinking there was she was sensing that they were about to get divorced. And at the end of the movie they're gonna like, we're getting divorced. That's what I kept waiting.
Yeah, it seemed like definitely. But the other thing that shocked me was the parents made a point to not fight in front of her. I'm like, wait,
Yeah,
do
that's
parents
insane.
do that? My parents screamed bloody murder at each other from ages from when I was 2 to 10, and I like it ruined my soul. And I'm like, wow. It was just nice to just watch a healthy thing happen.
My parents fought loudly and in front of me up until the day my mom got sick and went to the hospital and died.
It's really no one. I wish more people talked about how fucked how I guess, not everybody's a sensitive kid,
Mhm.
but I was, and it was like you were stabbing my skin with butcher knives every time they did that. It felt terrible. And
Well,
then
when
when
I
I
got
got upset that they were yelling, they got
Mhm.
mad at me
Oh
for
yeah,
getting
oh yeah.
upset.
Well, I remember when I
And
got
that
older,
is heartbreaking on another level.
100%. When I got older, and when I was in my late 20s, my 30s, I was the manager at Caroline's, and I'd have nights there that were just brutal, brutal. Like I'm talking like I was there from 9 a.m. to like 2 in the morning.
9 a.m. What the fuck they need you at 9
They
a.m.
they
for?
had the stupid private events, and they kind of took whatever.
Oh,
But I would get home and I would go to bed. I would fall asleep because you can't when you work that long, you can't like just go bed, go to go home, lay
yeah.
down, sleep. So I'd be up an hour or two watching a movie or watching a TV show, and then I'd fall asleep. And then like 8 a.m., they'd be yelling about either the news because my mom liked Obama and he didn't, or they'd be yelling about like getting coffee or I'll give you the money. And
So
I'd
you
be
had
get
no
up.
peace.
Yeah, and I'd be up. I'm like, do you understand what I went through yesterday? And now I have to go back to work. Like, can you just shut up so I can sleep? And then they would get mad at me. Like, I'm working.
It yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's what crazy it can be. It's a crazy factory.
Yeah.
It's a crazy factory, and I must say, I ended up blocking my mom's phone number because I told her I wanted space to like think
Mhm.
about before I respond to her, and that sent her into a really disturbed rage, and she like showed up at my I woke up one morning and she was at my apartment, and I'm like, no, no,
I
what,
think I think
no.
you need to be the sequel to Inside Out. Like out
Oh my
inside.
god, I know.
Bec-
Well, because I
like this
work
is what
really hard
happens.
to make my life nice and
Yeah.
to make myself very happy. And I
Mhm.
put a lot of work into it. I take it seriously to make sure that I have fun and
Mhm.
work hard, and I'm proud of what I do. So, they raised me the best that they could. And so now I got to raise myself. And now that I have, like, I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, it's like the biggest gift I've ever been given because it's independence.
Oh
So
yeah, it
I can
really
make
is.
sure that I have the life that I want.
Yeah, it's so nice when you finally can like just live the way you want to live. You don't have to rely on anyone. And lots of times I'm financially independent now, and lots of times people be like, you have to be nice to this person, so they'll put you on stage. You have to be. I'm like, I don't have to be nice to anyone anymore. This person's a monster.
No.
Like,
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not going to be nice to monsters anymore. When this resumes, I'm going to do comedy and do my podcast, everything my way. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Fuck what anyone else gives. Fuck anybody's
Yeah.
opinion on what you're doing. Truly, like and that's why I get so pissed off about like the control
Mhm.
that I'm witnessing in my parents. Like they're grasping for control because they feel such a lack of control over me. And I
Mhm.
really see a direct correlation because I have created a life where I have free will. I can
Mhm.
go where I want to go and do what I want to do within reason. And they're also the same people. Like I the fact that they think Black Lives Matter is a socialist organization. I'm like, you fucking would, because you don't want anybody to be fucking happy.
Yeah.
I'm not going down in the swamp with you. Fuck you. You're not dragging me down in your swamp. And that pisses them off. And I'm like, oh my God, you can just all go to hell.
Well, that's what I got when I was in my 20s. People would say to me, "Oh, you gotta stop reading comic books. You gotta stop watching wrestling. You gotta do this." And
Fuck that.
yeah,
Never stop until you want to.
hmm you know what I realized? Like maturity isn't like I'm not gonna read X-Men anymore. Like X-Men has nothing to do with how much.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about how you treat people, how you carry yourself, how you do things in life. X-Men and fucking Hulk Hogan or whatever, Nintendo. Those are just things
That shit
relieve your
rules.
stress. Yeah,
But also that's necessary. Like having fun is necessary. I got a VR headset at the top of quarantine. One of the best things I've ever done for myself. I fucking
yeah.
play I go around on rocket boosters around this fake ass city in my bedroom in this VR headset. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. I have like a loft upstairs that I put like pin ceilings on, flower vines all over the ceiling, and I
Mhm.
just go up there, smoke weed, and read poems in color. And I'm like, fuck everyone. Like it's just so nice. Like if you don't have those moments with yourself, what's the point of living?
Exactly. Yeah. What is the point? if it's all like work, 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 work. And I think that's a lot of people who just
What are
work.
you working for? What are you
Yeah.
working towards?
Yeah, working. I feel like a lot of people who work, they have a wife, they have a kid, and then they have to work more for the kid, resent people who are just like, yeah, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to fucking,
Yeah.
enjoy my life.
But everybody has free will
Mhm.
to choose the life that works for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Let me go over the plot of Inside Out because I want to review it with you. So basically, the movie starts where joy is born inside Riley's mind, and the other emotions come to life. The four main emotions are anger, joy, sadness. No, actually, there's five: disgust and fear. Those are the five
Oh
main
yeah.
emotions. How great, by the way, was Louis Black as anger? I thought that was perfect.
Oh my God. They couldn't have picked a better guy. Yeah. Perfect casting
I hope
choice.
he asked for a ton of money because literally he had them by the balls because nobody else could have played anger except for him. Like
Yeah.
if he had
Nope.
said no, they would have been screwed. The movie's over.
Yep.
Yeah. So I hope
Yeah.
he got.
No, it was perfect. The writing was perfect.
Mhm.
God, I love Disney and
Yeah.
Pixar.
Oh yeah, it was. This was also I think the first movie. They're doing more cerebral films now. Did you see Soul?
Thank God. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh my Christ. I'm like, I really appreciate the direction that these movies are going with really diving into the emotional life of a human being. We don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about that shit at all. And so many there's so much of this type of attitude where it's like you're basically a pussy if you like your feelings are hurt. And I'm like, that's not how humans function. And if you suppress any part of a person, you're gonna go nuts and one of the other areas in your life is gonna get fucked up.
Yeah.
So you have to talk about this emotional balance and the importance of it. So like between Inside Out and Soul, I'm like, fucking bravo, Pixar and Disney, because these are such beautiful conversations we're having.
Yeah, and it was. I really feel like kind of start with this film because they always kind of tiptoed around going deeper into people's minds and the people's emotions. And this movie, they just went for it. And I don't know if I was doing some research. The director got this idea because he felt very weird when his family moved away, and then he noticed his daughter was turning 10 and 11, and she was getting weird. And he was like, I wonder what goes on in her head.
What's happening? Yeah.
And he goes, let
What's the
me.
dance?
And the reason why they came
Oh,
up with these emotions, these five emotions, they spoke to a psychiatrist who studies emotions, and his findings, his paper was like there are five main emotions that control us, and those I just did the 10th. Yeah.
wow. Yeah, I've the last 2 years, but especially the last year with quarantine, I have read probably over 10 books about your inner workings and how to
Mhm.
kind of how to accept your own feelings and how to process old feelings and all about childhood trauma and all this shit. And as somebody who's I'm just so familiar with the subject. I'm like, yeah, you could tell that they consulted people that work in the mind as a living because it was
Mhm.
so accurate and the way they told it was such a fun way to tell that
Oh yeah, it
story.
was such a fun like the things they came up with, especially Imagination Land. But by the way, when she hits puberty, I know they can't make this
Oh.
movie, but when she starts learning how to masturbate, those poor emotions
Ah!
are going to be so confused by Imagination Land. They're going to be like, what is
That's
Riley
very
thinking? Or
true.
the dreams when she has a wet dream?
Well, did you see Riley's first date? It was a
I
little
did.
animated short.
I
Yeah, that was
did,
cute.
yes.
That was cute.
That was cute. But
That
like
was
when she
really
hits
cute.
15, 16, and woo,
Yeah.
those poor little emotions are going to be like, what is this dream? And then the directors of the dream. I hate to, if I'm a comics, I have to think dirty, but
Well,
like,
also too, you're a teenager. Like like presumably she'd been jerking off well before that. But but it's like, oh, you can talk about this sweet movie, and then when you introduce these, facets of your life that kind of taint you a little bit,
mhm.
you know?
Yeah,
They
I feel,
really it's very delicate of a situation how those subjects get introduced in your life. That's why Crit and I wanted to do a podcast about sex because it really sets a tone.
yeah, like the first time I heard about sex was I was around her age, Riley, and I hadn't seen my best friend all summer. And he's like, yeah, I'm hanging out with this girl now, and I read this book, and you got to take dick and put it in the vagina. And I was like, oh, okay, because I was like, I thought like you
Cool.
just rub stuff against, like you just
Oh
rub
yeah,
it.
I thought you hugged naked. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, no, you got to, I saw this book, and it was a right around Riley's age where like the kids start talking about sex. I'm like, Like I did some research into this and it's
It's
reconnaissance.
so cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And it made me think of all of these. This movie, Inside Out, made me think of all the times that my innocence got ripped away from me.
Hmm. Well, I remember too
So that's always a fun time.
Around Riley's age, we had an assembly because I was in the sixth grade. Yeah, I was in the sixth grade, and they basically said, "You're not kids anymore. If you mess up, this is going to go on your permanent record, and then you
That's
won't."
so terrible.
And it's like, no, I still am a fucking. I look back, I'm like, no, dude, I'm still a fucking kid.
Yeah,
Why
and
are
you
you
should
telling me
never
this?
stop being a kid. You should
Yeah.
never repress that side of you. What a disservice human beings do to themselves.
Well, yeah, that's why like sometimes I feel like a bad teacher is just as bad as a bad parent. Like, we had a lot of bad teachers in high
Yeah, well,
school.
it's also a bad teacher. Like you fucking chose this.
Hmm.
You went to
Yeah,
school for this, and then you're
yeah.
gonna suck at it.
Or like sometimes they'd be resentful towards the kids or mean or jealous, and I was just like,
Yeah,
why are you? I'm like, you're a 30, 40-year-old man playing games that me and this girl are playing at 12, and you're like participating in these fucking games.
it is exactly like my parents, exactly like all these Trump. It's denial. It's
Hmm.
denial. It's refusal to look at what's there because they can't accept the truth, and it's really emotionally immature parents and emotionally immature adults in general to a child is heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well, what I learned now getting older is that people would tell you nonsense, horrible advice, and be like, I'm older. I know. I've been around the block. And automatically you're supposed to assume that this
Yeah, you didn't
person,
do anything good while you're walking around the block.
yeah, you just walked
It's
around the block. You didn't go inside any
Yeah,
stores or talk
that
to
doesn't
anyone.
mean you're smart.
Yeah. And you just assume, like, oh, yeah, yeah. And now I'm getting older and I'm like, these people were fucking idiots. These people not only were
Yeah, and
idiots,
you're
but they
like
were,
developing the tools to call them out because you're
yeah.
understanding, oh, you fucking suck.
I had a guy when I started in comedy that was beyond cruel to me. One time he tried to fight me. He told me he's going to end my comedy career before it started when I was 22 years old. And he grabbed me by the shirt and everything. And this was like 2003. I wasn't even doing stand up yet.
Disturbed person, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to do it, but I didn't. And he was like, made
It's
me
like some
think that he
schoolyard shit. You fucking
schoolyard shit.
punk. Don't look at me. It's like Dave, it's like oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? Because I love that fucking comic who does the Instagram character. Shit.
Not Dave
Dave
Attell.
Dave Hill. Dave Hill.
Dave Hill. Okay,
Where
very
he's like,
close, but
oh, I rolled up on these towny punks, and I was like, "What's up?" And like, it's like a caricature.
yeah, that's what
Fuck
this
you,
guy was.
Ray.
That was what this guy was doing. And now I look back, and I'm his age now. I think he was 40 when he did that. And
Whoa, that's pathetic.
yeah, and I want to call him, and everyone's like, "No, no, because you might need it. You might run into him in the industry." And I'm like, I don't give a shit if I run into him in the industry, but I want to call him and be like, I can't believe the way you were acting when you were 40 years old. Now that I'm 40 years old, like, yeah, I read X-Men comics, but I'm not going to go yell at a 22-year-old. I'm going to end your career before you even started.
Yeah, that's very obvious that somebody feels extremely powerless and has
Yeah,
never been presented one single helpful tool to feel powerful. That's productive
exactly.
and kind and respectful.
Yeah, no, he just had, and he bullied a lot of other people in their 20s. And I'm just like, I just couldn't imagine bullying
Yeah,
a
it's a
20-year-old.
tale as old as time. His
Mhm.
parents bullied him. And it's like,
Yeah,
thank God we're finally talking about this stuff
yeah,
because uh then you can recognize it when it happens and call people out on their own shit.
110%. So in the movie, Riley has a great childhood. Looks like an amazing childhood. I mean, looks like it's a blast every single fucking day. The
Yeah,
fact that she doesn't
so
know,
jealous.
the fact that like she hasn't comprehended sadness until she's like 11 is
I
like, wow.
it's so cute. I'm like, wow. I've learned what the term emotional incest is, and it resonated with me a lot. Is when a parent treats the child as if the child is the more responsible one, and then the child just automatically falls into that role because they're so young and they don't know any better, and they're like, hey, well, this seems to make mom and or dad or whoever happy, so okay, sure, I'll do this, I'll be this role. And then like how mature her parents were, I'm like, wow, could you imagine that? Could you just imagine a peaceful, respectful household as a kid?
Yeah, I mean,
How different your life would be?
my parents were great, but there were moments where, yeah, where my mom goes, you know what, you're smarter than me and your father, and I almost feel like that. Then I think, yeah, like 6 or 7, I'm like, I'm in charge of this place, basically. You know what I mean? Like, You're right.
Nice. Get some
Yeah.
authority.
Yeah,
Oh,
but like
that's
you're right.
nice.
That's emotional incest, is what you just said. That's best
Yeah.
textbook example. Yeah, it's like we're too. You're the only person who makes us sane, so you got to be here making us sane. And it's like, well, I
Yep.
just want to watch.
That's a big job. Your only job should be to be a kid and to
Yeah,
explore your own mind.
yeah, exactly. Not worry about like your parents, even though they were great and I loved them. There were moments where it got like crazy. They would fight really
Mhm.
hard, and it's like, why am I supposed to break this up? You know,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I just showed up here 7 years ago. So they
I'm new
move.
here.
They move, and it freaks out Riley, and sadness starts taking more control of the room. And Joy, by the way, Joy reminded me of every woman I've met that works at corporate buildings, where like she's you can't call her out because she's being nice, but she's being very
She's
commanding
like
and
that
talking down.
friendly gal who's about to burst at any minute, who's about to
Yes,
blow, but she's like, I'm fine.
yes, yes, yeah. So she keeps trying to distract Joy. She gives her like a handbook, but for some reason she keeps trying to distract Joy. She keeps trying to distract Sadness, but Sadness keeps taking the controls, and Joy doesn't understand until eventually Sadness goes for the core memories. Now, for those who haven't seen the movie, the core memories are the memories that really resonate with someone, like the things that we look back on all the time. And she tries to
They
touch them.
shape us.
They shape us. Yes, when I have a lot of memories like that. I'll never forget. You mentioned Jasmine. I mean Jasmine. You mentioned Aladdin. I remember going to see Ghostbusters. My dad. That was the first movie I ever saw. Yeah.
Oh, good intro to comedy too. Jesus
Yeah. Oh
Christ, that
yeah.
movie
Well,
is so
the
good.
first person you ever seen on a big screen is Bill Murray, and not only he looks like a giant, but he's also like making you laugh your ass off. It's like,
He's so fun and free in that movie.
oh, he's great. I loved him in that movie. So that memory, and I have like I have a memory of all of us going to the Bronx Zoo for the first time, and like going to Maine, and my first time reading an X-Men comic, like all so I get the core
Yeah.
memories. But I get what she's saying with like, I know why Joy didn't want Sadness to touch them, but I get it why, because now like, my parents are gone, the days of like, being a kid are gone, and there's still like happy memories, but there is a touch of sadness because you can't go back, and you can't
Mhm.
even see the people that are in those memories anymore.
Right. It's a beautiful ode to how much memories shape us, but also a reminder that focusing on the past is, you can create your own beautiful memories looking forward instead
Mm-hmm.
of being so attached to the ones that happened, behind you on the
Yeah.
timeline.
I was thinking about that actually this year. Because I was born in the '80s, and I feel like the '80s kids are the first generation, and I think because you're kind of an '80s kid, but you're almost like an '80s '90s kid.
Well, my big brother's 8 years older than me, so I
Mm-hmm.
was really immersed in a lot of his toys, like He-Man,
Okay.
X-Men, fucking yeah,
Transformers.
I was really immersed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they were obsessed with Transformers. We had a like a giant Millennial Falcon in our. It was like the size of
Oh wow.
this closet
Okay.
that I'm sitting in. So they had a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. But
That
I
was all
feel like
around me.
my generation is the first generation to not let go of childhood and sometimes revel in it way too much. And I know I just
Yeah,
said like nothing wrong with liking X-Men, but like I do feel like sometimes we overly spend time in the
cling
80s.
to it.
You cling to it, yeah. Like I went into 4 stores the other day, and they all had '80s music on, and I'm like, this is the equivalent of in 1983, '82, going inside like a clothing shop and they're playing like '40s music. You'd be like, what is going on here?
Yeah, well, it's reminiscent of a time where everything was okay, or you
Mm-hmm.
thought everything was okay. That was
Yeah.
before the world got big and real and shitty. And it's so funny because I grew up and I'm so thankful about this. Zero religion. My parents like just didn't really care. Like they weren't
Mm-hmm.
anti it, but they're like, I'm too busy to worry
Yeah.
about this. So that was really nice. But then I grew up in Virginia the first 10 years of my life in Chesapeake, Virginia. And it was very Southern, very like, hey, y'all, don't say God's name in vain in our house. And I was like, huh? Why do you give a shit? But okay, sure. Like, but then you like all these religions talk about hell. And I'm like, I grew up, I'm like, guys, hell is all around us. We
Yeah.
got to create a beautiful little haven in our goddamn heads or in our house. Like that's but the less you stop clinging to the past, the more you can create new heavens in your,
Mm-hmm.
new interests, new but creativity like art. and immersing yourself in music and comic books and all that shit. That's food for your soul. So that's
Exactly. Yeah.
important. It's important that you, as long as you enjoy it, to read X-Men comics.
Yes. Yeah. That sounds like a PSA. That should be the PSA to keep for kids to go buy X-Men comics. You know.
There's a lot of great metaphors in the X-Men.
Oh, there are. I it does such a great job of talking about the X-Men comics about systematic racism and intolerance. My only thing is that if Magneto did live in my neighborhood, he was that crazy. I don't think it's within the realm to be like, you need to leave the neighborhood. It's different than like, you know what I mean? Like,
I must say I'm not familiar with Magneto because I just know the X-Men. I've never read a comic, but so I don't really know.
Oh
the
well, he can
reference you're
control
speaking of.
all of magnetism. He control all of
Oh,
and he has mental problems, and every now and then he goes crazy.
that's
So
great. That's great.
yeah, I
He's
would not.
bipolar.
I
He's
get
bipolar. Well, the two
tolerance.
poles of the magnet. Maybe he's bipolar.
That might be it. Maybe because the ice caps are
Wow.
melting, his brain's melting. I gotta get
Ah,
Marvel on the
a
phone.
meltdown. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, because like the whole thing is like people hate the X-Men because they have powers and they want them away, and they're like, no, we're just like you. But if you
Never
can
passed away.
control all the metal in the world and you fucking have episodes, I don't know if I want to live next door to you.
Fair, very
Yeah.
fair assessment.
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit different than I don't like a guy because he's gay. Well, I don't like this guy because he can like blow up my house with a thought.
Yeah,
I think
who you love has nothing to do with it. I don't want to die.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to die because you're upset at your kids, essentially. So the sadness and joy, they fall out of the big tower. They get lost in the thing of memories, and then I love the metaphor, this little scene where they had the two guys sucking away all the old memories, names of the president, which is fantastic. I wish they also had the states, because when I was like in second grade, I had to know all the states by heart, and then by third grade,
Yeah.
New York, New Jersey, California, I don't know, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I memorized everything because I just wanted to be a good student because I thought that I had to like do a song and dance in order to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the second I realized like, fuck this shit. Yeah, I was, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so like they have the scene with them racing their memories. They run into her imaginary friend. Oh, I gotta look up the name of this. Is it Bigaboo or Bungboo or
Bungaboo?
Funkoland?
Well, Richard
Bing
Kind
Bong.
played.
Bing Bong. Richard Kind.
Bing Bong.
Bing Bong.
Richard Kind.
And Big Bong is like, we got to get to this train to get back to the headquarters. While this is all happening, Riley's having an awful first day in school. She's fighting with her parents at the dinner table. Then we see the control center of the mom and dad, which I thought was fantastic. I love the dad's control center. I love the mom's
God.
center.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was great. I love that they dove into that. I was like, oh man, this fucking movie nails everything.
Oh, it's totally. And I like the fact that like the dad's control center and the mom's control center, they're all working together, whereas Riley's control center is still not really working in unison because she's fucked up. Man, it's not, and
a lot of feelings and emotions being flung at her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And while the mom's, and even like when the mom's emotions aside, we're gonna think about the hot guy we could have banged instead of this guy. They're all in unison. They just put it on the screen. And by the way, that guy gets around because he's also banging the teacher in that town too. The Brazilian. Do you remember the after credit scene? She's like,
yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah,
it's the same guy. It's like, wow, this guy really. He's a player.
He's a slut.
He's a slut. Yeah. You should have him on Guys We Fucked.
Yeah, really.
The Brazilian pilot. So, they get lost in imagination land. It starts crumbling. They get trapped in the dream world, and I love the fact how they did the dreams. Dreams are movie productions.
Yeah,
and they're trying to.
That's how it feels. Like they really nailed the metaphors.
They really. You ever have dreams where like someone in your life is acting very much like their real self, and when you wake up, you're like, how did I come up with that person being so themselves? Have you ever had that in your dreams?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've never questioned it though. It always made sense to me because who they are to me in my life, it would make sense that they're parallel in my.
No, I know, but sometimes it's like they do people in my dreams do very like I'll have a dream. Not him, but let's just throw him out there. Christy Stefano, for example, and
Okay.
who I haven't seen in a few years, and he'll be doing things that are
Himself.
that are so him that I'm like, how was I
Yeah,
able?
like it's like you get to witness him and you're not making it up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's there. Yeah, and it's like, how did
Yeah.
my brain put that together?
I don't know, man. I'm getting it. Well, I'm getting into some real woo-woo shit also during quarantine. So that's a different episode for a
What
different
about
day. But
dreams?
I do have some theories. Yeah, just about how just like communicating with other people in dreams.
Yeah, sometimes I want to text somebody if I have a really specific dream and I don't know them that well. Hey, did you have a dream last night? But I always feel like it's weird, like because sometimes I'll have dreams about people that I'm not really friends with anymore, or like I see that much, and they're being like so themselves, and I'm like, I haven't thought about that person. How did I nail that? So,
Yeah.
well, you know, so you almost feel like they're in that you're having the same dream. If you're I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, how were you not there last night? You were because you were.
Yeah. So they try to they get into the dream production. They try to wake her up, which is a very funny scene because the emotions watch the dreams at night, and there's a horse in the class, and the horse breaks up because it's joy and sadness and control, but fear is like freaking out about the dream, and
Yeah.
then she wakes up. They run into the clown that she's scared of, which I thought was a nice touch. The scary
Yeah.
clown.
That was cute.
Yep, they escape him, and then Bing Bong has to sacrifice himself so that
Oh, I cried so hard when he like
yeah.
made them think he was coming with them and then he stayed down in the
Oh,
pit. Oh my God. That was such a beautiful, like simple way to describe a French or like a kind gesture.
or
Like
like
a
your imaginary friend going away, because a lot of people don't
yeah.
remember their imaginary friends, and basically it's like we're saying goodbye to
Yeah.
childhood. Her childhood basically sacrifices herself
Yeah.
so she can
Yeah.
become
It's
a person.
heartbreaking. They
The other
captured that very well.
Yeah, the other scene that really got to me right before Bing Bong sacrificed herself is Joy finally crying, Joy finally accepting sadness, which I thought was very.
Yeah. And working together with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's such a good metaphor about how like it's okay to feel multiple things at the same time because the
Yes.
child brain usually only feels psychologically the child brain usually can only feel one emotion at a time, and then as you get older you have more room and space to have things that contradict each other, and it can be very confusing.
Let me ask you this question. So, right while she's on the bus, anger and I was about to say confusion, anger and disgust kind of break the control panel, and it's like shutting down. Do you think that's Izzy's metaphor to like why some people, when they hit puberty, basically become lost? Like there's some people out there like yeah, they kind of become emotionless assholes or sociopaths or something. Do you think that's the
Yeah, I think
metaphor?
yeah, I do, and I think that when you shame yourself for what you feel,
Hmm.
it's a slippery slope and it's not going to go anywhere good.
Yeah,
But when
because
you
if I
just, like, let yourself feel it and you don't add that additional layer of "What the fuck's my problem?" or getting to, because that once you start doing that, it's over until someone walks you through out of it, which is therapist. I have to pee really bad. Can we take a quick pee
yes,
break?
quick break. So yeah, so Christina just had it was a good piss, right?
It was great, such relief.
Okay, it was awesome. I was talking about like this is second I watched the movie this morning to get ready for this podcast, and I didn't think about this the first time, but I'm thinking about this the second time. What if Joy and Sadness don't get back in that control room, and it just or they get there too late, it just shuts down? What I was thinking about, like what type of life Raleigh, because she's just gonna stay on the bus, and she's probably gonna get like picked up by some weird older guy, and like
Oh, yeah, just fall into the wrong crowd
she's
and
gonna
and
fall
be
into the wrong
attracted to the
crowd.
wrong people and have friends that suck.
Yeah, like she probably like I'm sure the bus probably brought her to LA. She was like one of those homeless girls. I just thought about
Yeah,
like the horrible life Riley
have
was
a
about to
pit
go
bull,
to.
yeah.
Yeah, and like just kind of like being unemotional and weird, and probably use alcohol to like wake up her emotion. And it just was like, oh man, like I don't know. I just felt like usually when a Disney movie something goes wrong, it's like all right, the princess and the prince don't get together, whatever. Like
Yeah.
move on. But this is like, oh yeah, if Riley's emotions don't get this together, she's
She'll be turning tricks for heroin.
yeah, like she.
You could easily see how that happens to one's life when their joy just disappears and they can't find it again.
Mhm.
So they have to find it in heroin or whatever.
Or getting into porn or wind up at the bunny ranch.
Yeah, something.
Wait, hold on. No, yeah, no. This is insane. The girl, remember the girl at the Bunny Ranch? Her name was Riley. So this is an alternate
Wow.
ending
Wow.
of
Good
Inside
one.
Out.
That's great.
Yeah, that I just realized
Oh, I
that.
love that.
Oh man, we just
It's
had a
so
whole.
funny.
We connected everything
Putting it
together.
together.
Yeah,
That's great.
that's Riley. If the emotions don't
It
connect,
really all came around.
it really all came around. I should have been like, you gotta check your joy and your sadness. I don't think they've connected. But joy and sadness do get in the control room, and they meld the memory together with joy and sadness, and soon now the emotions start melding together, because it's okay to be angry, sad. It's okay to be disgusted. It's okay to have different feelings about things, And I love the way the movie ended. She went and she tells her parents how she feels, and her parents, instead of being like, "Get over it," or "We're having a divorce," or whatever, they hug her, and
Oh, I'm like,
I
yeah,
know.
isn't that nice? Wouldn't that have been nice? Well, Krystyna needed a goddamn hug.
And she gets her emotions out, and then a year later she's able to go bang another 12-year-old. So like,
Yeah, I just think they went to the movies, but yeah,
I think they
no.
just went to the movies. Yeah, it's a Disney film. It's Pixar too. But what I'm saying is, like, she was able to. She's playing hockey.
She worked through a feeling. Yeah,
She works through her
successfully.
feelings.
And incorporated balance into her life, emotional balance and harmony.
Hmm. And I really like the ending of the movie. And then the most, the scariest part, not scariest part, but the part where it's like, oh yeah, the sequel will probably be X-rated, was, what's that puberty button? And then the movie just ended.
Yeah, that was great. It was God, yeah. The sense of humor in this film was great.
Oh yeah,
And the sweetness. It's a great balance.
I love the fact that he got all these buttons for all the curse words she learned, and it's like, how many curse words did this girl learn from 11 to 12? Like,
Yeah, you learn a bunch.
yeah, she was watching a lot of Sam Kinison stand up and stuff. But I
Probably.
I love this movie, and you said this movie even helped you go to therapy and stuff.
Oh, I was already in therapy.
Oh,
I've been
but
in
you
therapy
talked
for a
about it with your
while, but it
therapist.
just it let me put a lot of pieces of the puzzle together and understand what emotional balance looks like, and understand in a very sweet way that you will feel a sense of conflicting emotions often, and it's okay.
Yeah, true that. Now, what do you think? You got really personal this podcast, and I loved it. What do you think is the future? You think you're going to talk to your parents again, or you think you're just basically like, I'm done?
I don't know, but I'm done with being married to a specific outcome of a situation and having my
Mhm.
happiness rely on another person's reaction. So no matter what happens, I can rest very peacefully knowing that I communicated everything in the exact way I wanted to, and I feel so good about it that regardless of the reaction I get, I have a steady foundation and base inside myself. So honestly, I'm just so excited about that, and it would be really lovely to come to an understanding. But my therapist is like, I think your positivity may be what did she say? It was really actually, no, I want to quote her because it was so funny. I read it and I like laughed out loud. She goes, uh I'm very impressed and thoughtful your message. Without fail, you continuously express your feelings. Although these are all my own thoughts, blah, blah, blah. If either of your parents have the capacity to take in and digest what you have revealed, it would be due to your way with words. What you said about Kevin, who's my dog.
Okay.
Um, and speaking of getting it, your optimism might be a fantasy. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And that's okay.
Hmm.
That's okay. I totally accept that, because you can choose which one you want to be, and I choose optimism. And then if it doesn't get to that point, then I move on.
Yeah, there's people that I want to confront, and I talk about this with my friends. People like the guy who went after me when he was 40 and I was 22. They're like, they're just gonna brush it off. They're not gonna care. And I'm like, that might be true, but I'll feel better saying something, even if they're just like, whatever, get over it, pussy. That was 15 years ago. You know what I
Well,
mean?
he took his pain and he
Mhm.
threw it at your face,
Yeah,
and you want to take it off your face and go, no, 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 you dropped something, sir.
yeah,
This isn't mine.
exactly.
So I
Mhm.
know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I kind of want to, because he did other things throughout the years, and I just kind of want to like lay it on the line. Like, well, he's not going to care, or he's going to push, or say you're crazy, and I'm like, I'm aware of those outcomes, but when it's
I
done,
don't
I'll
give a
feel
shit.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, And down
Yeah,
deep,
because it's
he'll
also
know he's an
practice
asshole.
standing up for yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
I named a girl who bullied me in middle school. I named her first and last name on accident. Corinne and I did a TEDx talk.
Oh wow.
And I was talking about this girl who bullied me in 8th grade that I still feel very like it. I can think of it. I don't think of it often at all, but when I do, it's very fresh. And I fucking
Yeah.
hate this bitch. So when I was doing, I got so in my feelings while we were on the TED stage in front of thousands of people, and I said her first and last name, and I was like, "Oh, whoops!" And Corinne starts laughing in the middle of our TED talk, and I'm like, "Oh, that sucks." Hey, what are you gonna do, right? I was mad at her.
Has she ever confronted you? Like, you said my name in the TED talk.
No, and I don't give a shit. And
Okay.
I'm old enough to understand that. I'm emotionally intelligent enough to understand that I can't imagine that her early beginnings were wonderful and peaceful and pleasant. I don't give a shit. Still fuck you, but like,
Mhm.
you know, I don't care. I feel very comfortable expressing my anger towards a person.
Yeah. Oh, I had someone really go after me a few years ago, and then I was like, "Hey, this really hurt me," and they said something like, "Well, I was raped 5 years ago," and I'm like, "Yeah, I knew about that. I'm sorry, but that doesn't mean you get to treat me like shit in a situation. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean you
That's
get to go out of
absolutely
your way to try to
correct.
fuck me." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are two different situations that
Yeah.
deserve some TLC. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if I knew who raped you, or if I knew I would kill him for you. But I don't. But
That's very
this is
nice.
you still owe me $1,000. Well, that's not the situation. But you get my point. Like that doesn't
I
mean.
understand what you're saying. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You can't. Yeah, you're equating two things that don't have anything to do with each other. Yeah, relying on that, resting on that is a slippery slope.
Yeah, and like I'm sure that girl had shit going on in her private life you didn't know about. That's why she was a bully.
I'm
But she
sure
still treated you like
everybody did.
shit.
Yeah, well, I think that sometimes people who are only shown very poor examples of how to interact with others, and that's a big disservice because they have a chip on their shoulder because they weren't given what they deserved and needed in childhood, and that sucks. Always have a soft spot for people, but I always say this. I have a solo podcast called The Voices in Our Heads
Mhm.
where I just dive into my inner world and a lot of stuff with the parents and trauma and all that shit. I really dive into it and try to make it funny. But I say, like, most of us were fucked up, but you gotta fix it. You gotta
Mhm.
fix it. Just fucking fix it.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't take it out on other people. I really knew my drama teacher was not happy in her where she was in life, and I feel like she was taking it out on the kids. And I learned, look, if I work with kids on anything, I've got to treat them like gold. I can't take out my issues on anyone. I can't be like, oh, because uh
It's a lot of work if you were treated like shit. That's a
yeah.
lot of work to do.
Hmm.
It's a lot. And anybody who embarks on that should, truly pat yourself on the goddamn back because it's not easy.
No, it's not. But like I'm not always a big fan of how I was treated in comedy, but if I run into a new comic and he asks me for help, or like I'm not gonna, it's not their fault that like I wasn't on HBO yet. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, also HBO might not exist in a year. But it's not their fault. It's I can't yell. What am I gonna yell or treat him like garbage for? He's just trying
Right.
to do comedy.
But some people need to throw the blame at somebody. They need to throw
Hmm.
their pain. They can't stand how much pain is inside their head and heart. So they got to throw it at other people to get some of it out of them,
Hmm.
which that's what a batting cage is for,
Yeah.
fucking go rollerblading, smoke a blunt and go rollerblading and like go until you're like sweating your ass off and really use that energy for something better.
Yeah. 100%. Real quick before we end this discussion, the after credit sequences where they show everyone's head. I loved it, but my favorite was the cat's head. Did you see the cat? Remember the cat's head?
Oh yeah, that was
Mhm.
so funny. Yeah, that made me think of my dog Kevin. I'm like, oh my god, Kevin, because I feel like when I look at him, it's just such a sweet little powwow going on in there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, the funny thing with the cat is like the cat's emotions are just kind of like walking around, and then the one cat just walks on the control panel, and the cat in real life freaks out. And my cat every now and then will just start running around the house like a lunatic, and I'm like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's how cats are. They just act weird out of nowhere.
they're so weird and they accept it, and I
Hmm.
love that about them.
Oh, I love cats. They're the guy. I love cats and dogs. I thought I was first when I grew up. I thought I was a cat person. Then I became a dog person. Now I'm like I'm an every fucking animal person. Like
Yeah,
they're
a
all amazing.
non-human person. Yeah,
Yes,
anything
I'm.
that's not a human,
Yes,
I love.
yeah, yeah. It's not the fact that it's a dog or a cat. It's just that it's not a miserable fucking human being that's gonna treat me like shit
Mhm.
the minute I try to
Yeah.
get close to them. Yeah. Krystyna, first of all, people can find you on Guys We Fucked on Luminary. Is this what it's called?
Luminary app, yep. And then the Voices in Our Heads is available anywhere you would listen to a podcast. And all my social media, my handle's Krystyna Hutch, but my name is spelled weird. It's KrystynaHutch. And I realize I was informed recently that a lot of people think I made that spelling up. I did not. My mom did. My mom
What
made
was
it
the
up.
reason behind it?
A lady she met once suggested it, and she was like, okay. And I'm like, really? That's the story? That's the story of why I had to go through so many grotesque facial expressions every time I got a new teacher. But
You know
okay,
why?
whatever.
You know why I'm called Ray? Salvador Ray. You want to know that story? It's a really funny story.
Yeah.
Okay, so my mom's gonna call me Sean Patrick, and
Whoa, that's opposite ends. Wow.
I would be. I feel like I'd be a completely different person as Sean Patrick because that's like a whole different. That's like you're on the racquetball team or something. Like that's a whole different
Yeah,
person.
boring, I think of. Yeah,
Yeah,
no offense
boring.
to
Yeah.
Sean Patrick's out there.
So this other woman's giving birth and next to my mom in the hospital, and she has the baby for my mom, and the doctor goes, "What are you gonna call him?" She goes, "Sean Patrick." And my mom goes, "God damn it!" And my mom goes, "Ah!" She wanted to be like, "Wait, no, you can't." And then my grandfather's name was Ray, and my dad's name was Salvador, so she just called me Salvador Ray Gutierrez.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
fuck Sean Patrick's. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Fuck,
yeah.
I'm sure
That's really funny. That's so funny. Oh my God, that's really funny.
that kid's probably running a hedge
Ah,
fund. So fuck him.
that's great. Thank you for having me, Ray. This was very fun.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast, guys. If you enjoy this, please subscribe. Gootz's Disney Pod on iTunes. Leave a review. And also follow me on social media, Ray Gootz, and follow the podcast at Gootz's Disney Pod. Krystyna, thank you so much for being on this. You were great.
My freaking pleasure, Ray.
We'll see you
Hope to
next
see
week.
you around soon.
Yes, I'll definitely see you around. And guys, we will see you next week for the Good Dinosaur. Thank you, guys.